Morning and welcome everybody to the Future of Female Leaders, which is sitting right here on these sofas, building a future amid the digital transformation. It's so wonderful to have each and every one of you here to have this conversation with me. And this is the second part in a video series that's presented by Samsung. And these are impact chats. These are really pauses and the ability to kind of give people things to think about and also to present an opportunity for female leaders to speak their minds. I just want to introduce each and every one of you to whoever's watching us. Dione Song, she's the Chief Commercial Officer of Love Bonito, Asia's leading multi-million-dollar fashion empire and homegrown brand. And Jaelle Ang, founder and CEO of The Great Room, which is where we're sitting right now. And I want to point out that I'm also wearing Love Bonito. Yes, the co-working space that brought together the splendor of hospitality establishments with the functionality of offices. In short, comfort, space, and of course, lots of concentration in a comfortable space. So that's perfect. Val Yap, founder and CEO of PolicyPal, Asia's leading insurtech firm that helps one understand their insurance needs and empowers them to take control of their financial future. I need you, Val, in my life. And Roshni Mahtani, CEO and the founder of the Asian Parent, the largest mother and child platform across Southeast Asia. How does that feel? That's amazing. With an extensive reach of over 35 million monthly users. So I am in great company. Impact Chats, Future of Female Leadership, which is really the present of female leadership. And I also want to talk about technology and how that has impacted all of us. But first things first, how is everybody?
Surviving. I think that's the key word for this year.
And that's more than enough.
Yeah, I think surviving is a good place to be in. And I think we're all living with a lot of uncertainty. I mean, we're not coming off of the early days of coming off of COVID-19, but we certainly are already in the next normal. I think we can all agree. Val?
Yeah, indeed. It has been a journey, both challenging yet exciting for us as well, because with this pandemic happening, in general, people are taking control of planning for their finances. So in terms of growth of PolicyPal, it has been looking pretty positive. Indeed, that the first circuit breaker actually have an impact because the shift of how people transact for their finances, going to the bank, meeting up with financial advisors, everything moving online. So things have changed quite a bit, but pretty excited about how the whole world is moving digital.
Half the time I don't go to the bank. It's like now an event to go to the bank, and I have during COVID-19, hardly anybody was actually leaving their homes, right? And during lockdown, of course not. And it's really changed the mindset. And it just goes to show, how they say it takes 21 days to form a habit?
Yeah.
I think it takes 2 months to just completely eradicate your habits, and that's something to think about as we start, going through some of the topics of conversation today. We're going to look today at both where leadership is and where technology is, because we cannot deny how much technology we've relied on in the last 9 months. And it's not just e-commerce or, financial future or, reading amazing things or buying wonderful things online or being in certain places, but it's really transformed the way that we think about our lives. So I want to begin by actually asking about how you have seen through your own businesses and the work that you do, how technology has begun to perhaps not so much shape the future, but actually reshape the future. So the pandemic, heavy impact on technology, heavy impact on businesses. We've seen some businesses booming as a result. That whole word pivot, which has become the sort of, please don't talk about pivoting, but it's true, right? Some businesses have actually folded because of this rapid shift in technology and to devices, to platforms, so on, and others have just absolutely blossomed. So I want to begin with your views on how much our industries and economies have been disrupted by technology. I'm going to begin with talking to you, Jaelle, about this because the impact must have been pretty great in the co-working space. Now, you come from a variety of backgrounds. You're trained as an architect, then you joined the banking industry, and finally you headed into real estate. So how have you witnessed this change of technology across these industries, and what did you see happen after COVID-19?
So it's been interesting. So I've been in finance and in real estate, which are both very antiquated and slow to take up change type of industries. But technology has really starting to shift quite a few paradigms. And the pandemic has also been a good accelerator. You're going to see trends that have always been around really even, taking pace and just getting faster. And some companies, I call it like in sunny weather, you can overtake one car, and in rainy weather, like today, you can overtake 15 cars. And this is really a chance for companies who can either embrace or accelerate their technology, digital transformation to overtake the rest. So in real estate, for example, there is the opportunity to relook at how we design the space and how we actually can mass customize microclimates. So we're able to create microclimates in the workspaces, whether it's temperature control, humidity, air quality, in a much more accessible way. So it's really making what's been available but accelerated. So the availability of, say, Internet of Things, of IoT, access to mobile technologies, automation, would allow a lot of these things to happen in a much more cheaper and accessible way. So great opportunities ahead for our industry, actually.
So I think it's the whole, the old thing of seeing the silver lining, right? I mean, it's been pretty cloudy, and I think we've had to all sort of adjust our mindsets, and that takes time, because while opportunities are being presented, it's am I able to actually change my mindset to take advantage of those opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
Because we have to admit, I mean, the last 9 months have been quite a shock to the system, right? And we're not only looking at this in a commercial space, but also in a personal space. I think that's where, the change actually happens. It happens within our minds and within our hearts. Yeah. Val, I want to ask you about the insurance industry, because that's a field that is considerably hard to navigate for regular consumers. It's a very oversaturated market. And how did you see technology being able to empower the average consumer? Things like giving them more data about the insurance policies, for example, that might be best for them.
Very good question. So traditionally, most of the time you meet up with an agent, you buy an insurance policy, and then you receive the paper policy, put it aside. So at Policy Pal, what we do is basically we empower consumers to actually, first of all, consolidate all your existing insurance policies in one place. So we build up the AI technology where you can actually scan your insurance policy with the data that we have aggregated over the years. We have a very clear view of like how much you are covered for compared to your peers. So looking at the data of your gender, age, especially life stage, because for insurance and financial planning, it depends very much on your life stage, your needs. So we give you the peer-to-peer comparison in terms of how much you have compared to the peers at your life stage. And then from there, you can get started. So we pair you with our in-house financial advisors to help you actually plan for your own future.
This is great because it's demystifying. In the past, you don't really know anything about the medians, you don't have no idea compared to this person in my age group, or what should I be spending on, and so forth. But there's a flip side to this, though. It does remove the relationship, or does it?
Not really. So as what we believe in for financial planning is actually technology empowered. So technology empowered with relationship helping you to plan for your finances. So we have two segments of our customer base. Some of them, they actually want personalized advice. So that's the time where we actually pair them with our financial advisors. There are those who are very tech savvy. They like to do a lot of research. So that's where our content as well as quizzes that we actually empower them to make their own decision. So they can make their own choices in terms of getting themselves covered for online. So we build up the whole end-to-end transaction service together with the insurance partners that we work with.
That's amazing. I mean, I think it's knowing how people like to shop.
Yeah.
I'm the sort of person that I think when it comes to financial services, I need a lot of info and I need my hand held. But when it comes to going to Love Bonito, I don't need my hand held. I can shop very easily. But it's really about that. It's knowing consumer, matching the tech with it, and also knowing that you cannot eliminate the human touch. You just can't.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think for Love Bonito, though, that was the other way around, because it was an e-commerce store to begin with. That's how we all discovered Love Bonito. And it's played such a huge role in all of our lives in terms of, number one, just being this great homegrown brand. And then, of course, the types of styles and all of that. And then just at hit a button and you've just basically overspent, and you have too many things in your wardrobe, but they're all great and wonderful. But
you can never overspend.
You can never overspend on Love Bonito. But no, the thing is this, it's a great convenience. We know that technology is a great convenience. And Love Bonito is a significant part of e-commerce. Now, what are some of the biggest technological advancements that you've noticed that has helped e-commerce to grow so much in the recent years?
Yeah, I think over the last decade or so, I think we've seen sort of the infrastructure and ecosystem really evolving and changing. So if you look at the overall e-commerce landscape, it's made up of two pieces, right? One, I guess you have sort of very huge marketplaces and players. Right? I think over the last couple of years, of course, we've all heard of Amazon, right? You've seen the same.
No. Of course.
You've seen similar versions, right? I think in Southeast Asia as well. So I think that has really opened the doors, right? I think for just the infrastructure for merchants to also get online, for consumers to actually get more educated about shopping online, has made it a lot easier for just retailers or people who traditionally have brick and mortar businesses to just open up a shop, right? Then you have the other piece of e-commerce, which is more of your D2C, direct-to-consumer brands, right? So similar to Love Bonito, right, where we operate our own website because the brand and experiences are very important to us. So we've seen also, vendors and platforms like Shopify, for instance, right, coming to making it, again, so easy, right? Even if you don't know technology very well, you don't have an engineering team, you can easily just plug and play, right, and run your merchant site. I think with the two pieces together, it's made sort of the entire ecosystem of e-commerce a lot more mature, right? I think over the last couple of years, making it a lot easier for consumers to also find brands and websites online. Then I think the third piece is, well, I think what we've seen so far would be the proliferation of just marketing channels in general. I think we've seen so many different forms of digital marketing channels, right? I think your Google, your Facebook, now of course Instagram, TikTok, right? I think during circuit breaker, everyone's on TikTok. That has made it also really easy just for one click, right? I think you're watching a video or format online, one click, right, from an ad, and immediately you're actually on an e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
So that has really brought the awareness again in education. Actually, think very interestingly, I think circuit breaker was the impetus actually for us, right, where we noticed a lot of first-time online shoppers, right, having no choice anymore, right? They have to explore e-commerce because stores were closed.
Yeah.
So again, I think that was when we saw the second wave of customers just moving online.
Sort of breaking through that boundary.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
It's the new habits that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's, so far, what I'm hearing is that there is so much opportunity. There is technology, but it's really how you use it, and whether you see it as a sort of two-dimensional, cold, hard thing, or you understand that we do need to have that warmth. I mean, we're humans, and we need to have something built into this, whether it's the fact that we can't touch it, and so because we're all at home and we were in lockdown, but we still need to feel that we're connected. And speaking of connection, and speaking of digital, Roshni, in 2009, you already went fully digital. Actually, that's great foresight, because it was around about 2009 that print media was starting to really change dramatically. And what I kept asking myself, what gives you the foresight at that point? What gave you the foresight? It's very intuitive to understand that actually, we need to be digital already. And a lot of publishing companies at that time were struggling to understand this whole digital world.
Yeah, great. It was a great time to start. I started just after the financial crisis, or during the financial crisis. I was living in New York City. I was living on Wall Street, and I saw the collapse happening right in front of my very eyes. And I think the main thing is that, if you live in New York, it's the heart of publishing, it's the heart of Broadway, theater, the art scene of in the US. And it was very clear to me that it had to be disrupted, it had to be changed, because if publishers were just going about doing things the way they've been doing it for the last 50 years or 100 years, we were, digging our own hole and we would all die. So I looked at it and I said that, first of all, you need to do localization. And when, you can't look at Asia as just Asia. Asia has more than half of the world's population. China is very different from India. India is very different from Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, you can't just lump us up as Southeast Asia. Yeah. We have 700 million people in Southeast Asia.
That's right. It's not monocultural.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to look at different languages, different religion, and you have to build communities. It's not just about, broadcast where you go digital and you say, hey, I'm the broadcaster and I'm going to tell you what to do.
and it's a very monopolistic viewpoint. You have to democratize content, and you need to be able to have content and community coming up from the ground down, going upwards. So that's what we did with the Asian Parent. And, I don't know if it was foresight or if it was bravado. I was just 24 years old when I started the company. And it was just, I was a digital native person. I grew up around digital, and I knew that if I was a young mom, that's what I would need. I'm not going to go and, go to CVS or go to, Guardian Pharmacy and buy a textbook or borrow a textbook anymore. I want to read it online, and I want to hear viewpoints from around the world and connect with different people, and then decide what is the philosophy I believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it is that really closing the gap between the time it takes to go and maybe search for something where it's literally happening in your own living room.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps. I think if I was a mom, I would be your how many million do you have?
35 million and counting.
35 million and one. That would be me, for sure.
It's really bringing a whole world of field experts right at your fingertips, holding a mobile device, and you're actually able to get all the tips you want for people who are already doing it, have done it.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
The wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
And when you've gone through pregnancy, you don't just want to pack off that knowledge and say, okay, done it. But you've gone through that 9 months of pain. You want to share it with everyone. You're like, I know I'm an expert on this. Ask me.
Well, you are. I think, when it comes to parenting, every parent is an expert. They're an expert in their field, and their field is that little baby,
That's right.
I mean, I'm thinking, this really wraps it up so nicely, because I think innovation really is key to a company's long-term success. Innovation is a key to our personal success. And, the fifth or the sixth person on the couch is Samsung, I mean, the work that they've been doing with these new flip phones as well, it's like, come on, who ever thought about it? And every time, actually, I spend a lot of time just playing with it, because I just can't believe that it does this, and it does it so well. And also they've decided to kind of think about lifestyle and the multitasking of our lives. They've been very intuitive about it, and that's what I find very impressive. This whole idea of the integration also of 5G technology into the devices. And I think they themselves are working to shape the future of technology, so kudos to them. What does the future then look like for each of your industries? Jaelle, real estate, widely disrupted, as we say, by technology. And we know this to be true, especially since the onset of COVID-19, when people now have all the options to work remotely. There's been so much talk about what is the space of the future? What is an office anymore? Where do we work? And let's talk about co-working spaces, which literally were bringing people from so many different backgrounds, needs together in a way that a traditional office actually couldn't. So my question is, what is the working space of the future?
I just want to say, during the course of the pandemic, we are actually not thriving. We've been coping, and we're just wearing down or drawing from this reserves of social capital or professional capital that we have built, because we've met people before, we have that trust and rapport, and we can draw from that. And what technology has enabled us during this period of time is to allow very efficient communication. It allows a lot of the work to get done, but at the same time, you're still missing this human connection, and we have to come back and connect again and build up these reserves. Just think about the number of times we keep saying, when this is over, let's meet properly, let's talk properly then. So it has been very difficult for new businesses to kind of build a new business development and new trust and rapport to
How
be
do
built.
you, because trust is always, we're talking about this in insurance, you still have to have that contact, right?
Yeah, that contact. Even, in the co-working space at the Great Room, we really talk about this water cooler chat, the casual collisions. You don't know who you're going to meet. It could be your next investor. It could be a partner and client. I think, technology has allowed us to do that exchange of information. It has allowed us to reach anyone, anytime, globally. But there is still that missing piece. So it's really, how can the work of the future, the office of the future, create almost a frictionless environment that we can work from home and have that high performance environment still there. But when you're at the office, you're not just doing work in front of a computer, you're actually carrying your phone, you're walking around, you're doing that high value part of work, you're connecting with people. And how can you just transcend both environments in a very seamless way. And I think
So
the
we'll just leave it to you to
opportunities-
figure that one out.
it's what I've been doing. We've been very excited about how, we've used beacons and sensors as well to look at where people want to be. Do they actually like being behind a desk or actually out in front, chilling out at the lounge chair, meeting people? And how can we design a better and smarter office of the future? And that's what we're trying to figure out.
I mean, I kind of think that we need both. We've come to that point, right? I mean, in the past, it would be that you would join a particular company because you knew they had a sort of different policy to rest and relaxation on the job. And, they would have big pantries filled with all kinds of food. And so that was like, wow, the office of the future. But the office of the future now is really, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel when I'm working? Are there natural spaces in which I can just go and sit and just have peace for a while? Because we've all been through so much through our nervous system in the last 9 months that now we are experts at knowing. Personally, I love working from home. I gotta tell you, I really do. But it's really nice to be able to get out there, and then you remember what was missing is that you could only spend that amount of time healthily alone unless you're on a mountain. And if the Great Room has designed the space, I'm there. But you do need interaction.
Next on the business plan.
Next business plan. It's
But actually-
building working spaces in the mountains.
We do want to have it all, because there are times that you want to be quite contemplative and alone. There are times that you want to, be energized by the people around, and we shouldn't have to choose. We should be able to be productive at home, productive at work, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So our hashtag is it's all work, it's all play, and I truly believe that, it's not even a future, it's now, and we should have it now.
Yeah, fantastic. Val, PolicyPal also seeks to make insurance a lot more accessible and to help everyone to become more financially savvy. Can you share with us a little bit more about how you actually conceptualized PolicyPal and what does its AI offer that enhances customers' lives?
So PolicyPal was started 4 over years ago. So the idea came out of my own personal experience dealing with insurance. It was a nightmare for my family, from filing claim for my mom when she recovered from her cancer, to filing for another claim within the same year for my late father when he passed away unexpectedly due to heart attack. That actually brought us a lot of pain within the family in terms of recovering from just as a family in terms of like health and wellness to financially as well. That got me thinking about actually everyone out there, especially in Singapore, has some form of insurance because the government has provided like dependent scheme policy to every single one that is paid out of CPF. But a lot of people out there are not aware about it, and I wasn't aware. So I was thinking, how can I empower everyone out there to first of all understand what kind of insurance that they have, what kind of insurance their parents actually bought for them.
This is literacy.
Yeah.
And it's something that hasn't necessarily always been inculcated in our culture.
Exactly. So we grew up learning about science, geography, everything. But then once you start working, you have to learn how to manage your finances. And then very importantly, how to take care of a family when something unfortunate happened. So PolicyPal started with the whole idea to actually empower consumers out there to first understand about insurance, next about their protection gap. And then we started working with insurance companies, and very fortunate that like the government scheme of MAS FinTech Sandbox, our Singapore regulator, we were the first to enter there, graduated with license, and then like today we actually serve consumers online with their insurance end-to-end. So they can start off with policy management, understanding coverage gap. So using artificial intelligence, first of all, to map your existing insurance policy to the database that we have. And so like a lot of insurance companies like to use different terms. It's the way that they differentiate themselves.
Demystifying it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, what is accelerated illness? You'll be wondering, what did I buy like 10 years ago? Actually, once you scan it with PolicyPal app, we will explain to you it's actually critical illness, what does it cover for, and then like how the critical illness definition have changed recently as well, and what you need to look out for your family. So that's how we do the whole end-to-end online. Customers, some of them, they prefer to self-help. if let's say they do need any support, they can actually seek for an advice. So we do it over Zoom, or some of them still want the personal touch of meeting in person, so they can meet with us in the office.
Val, where do I sign up?
You can just download the app and then just sign up for
That's
policy.
it,
It's
you know?
completely free. Yeah. And recently, because of this pandemic, a lot of people started to be a lot more aware about like what happens if I get retrenched, and they'll start doing their financial planning online. On top of that, with the bank interest rate dropping, people are looking for alternative like safe haven. So they either look up for insurance policies, or like or maybe those who are a bit more risk averse, they were open to actually taking on like investments type of policies as well. Yeah.
You know, what I really appreciate so much is that, you know, you developed a business around a real need, and off the back of having had a human experience that was really unfortunate and saddening. And I think so many of us have been through those kinds of experiences, and then thought, what could the solution be to this? You know, because actually what you're doing is you're alleviating a lot of suffering.
That's what we aim to do and continue to work on, because in insurance itself, I have to admit that over the past 4.5 years, it has been pretty challenging because it's male-dominated, very traditional industry. And then when I first started, I have to say that like a lot of them rejected us. It was a lot of hard work, passion, and really the drive to actually want to make a change within the team. We're all very young, but then like we believe that like everyone out there should have the ability to start doing their financial planning instead of waiting for something bad to happen, or like instead of being maybe introduced to insurance by their friend or relatives, and they feel that they are buying it because they're supporting their friend or family. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing it because you know that there's a need to plan for your future.
Absolutely. This is the power of the feminine. Power of feminine right here on this couch. Exactly right. We need to bring that into it. And it's not about just looking at things from strictly just an emotional standpoint, but from a really human standpoint. These are the things that we need. I am downloading the app the moment we're done.
Thank you.
Roshni, your early adoption of the digital platform definitely proved to be the right decision, right? As we spoke earlier, considering digital media has greatly surpassed print media. I mean, I still have a soft spot for print media because that's how I began, but I'm a big fan of digital media. What was it like to launch this fully digitalized platform? Did you know what you were doing? And what were some of the competitions that you actually faced at the time?
It's really interesting, you know. So if I look back at the early days, and I always laugh and say, you know, there was this crazy story, and I had to sell because we needed to make money. And so I was, you know, part-time writer, part-time salesperson, part-time product manager. I'd send out the email, I learned how to code, design the logo. So I had to do everything, right? And I went for a client meeting, and it was with a very big CPG company. And I was so excited that the digital marketing manager wanted to speak to me. And so she said, you know, oh, I was the marketing head, and now I've got a new title, and I'm going to be looking at digital, and I need to figure out how to bring our CPG brand into the online world. And I said, okay. And so I was walking her through the platform, the agent parent, and all of our different touch points where she could go and reach out to our moms and buy banner ad space, buy content, etc. And she said, okay, I think I'm going to buy some banner ads. I said, sure. And so we started talking about pricing, and, you know, we sealed the deal. And then she said, hey, I forgot to ask you. Now, if I send you the banner ad in black and white, would it be cheaper than if I do it in color? Because she was thinking in print.
Yes, of course.
Right?
And this is back in 2009. I mean, we're kind of in the cusp, right? We're in the cusp of moving from print to digital.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I looked at her and I said, sweetheart, if you give me an advertisement in black and white, I'm going to have to charge you more because it's really ugly. and so it was that kind of conversations, you know, where it wasn't, and it wasn't about CPM or CPC or CPI. It was really about, how long can I sponsor? Is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Is it 3 months? Who's going to see it? And so our initial competitors was, you know, and this is the era of like MySpace and Friendster, and Facebook, of course, was there, but Friendster was still around. And so we were
vaguely in the background.
but we weren't competing with the digital guys then. Here in Southeast Asia, we were competing with the print newspapers. So that was the early days, and it was, you know, like so there would be days where I just walk back home and I'm like, wow, I have to explain everything. This is really difficult.
It's a very education process.
Yeah. And in the last 10 years, it's really been leaps and bounds, improvement and understanding and just a digital literacy around.
I think you educate yourself in all these processes. You know, when you're an early adopter, there's a curiosity as well, and you kind of want to go through that sort of hardship. You don't intend to, but you have to, and there's no way around it. You got to go through it, right? Now, I know you also built an e-commerce arm into the platform. We were talking a little bit about this earlier. How did you make this decision to expand your business offerings? Because I'm always curious about when people expand business offerings, what's the thought process that goes into, okay, these are the other arms of our business and this is going to work? Or is it, let's give it a shot?
Yeah, so I think it boils down to two things. So first of all, you have to really listen to your audience. You have to intimately know your audience, and you have to follow where their trends are and be a little bit ahead of the curve. And what we started noticing was there was a lot of conversation in the community about wanting products that was Sharia certified. If you look at the world that we live in, you know, and the region that we're in, one of our largest religions is Islam, and yet we don't have a lot of products that is halal certified. So, you know, we started noticing conversations around moms asking, hey, is this stretch mark cream halal certified? You know, I'm looking for this and I would like it to be halal. So we said, hey, there is a growing need for that. And then we also noticed that there were a lot of moms who were looking for natural. So they were looking for no SLS, no paraben. I don't want all this junk in my toothpaste. I don't want all of this stuff in my creams.
And this is all as a result of people having broader, deeper education about products.
Correct.
And also, you know, when you speak about halal products, this is about inclusivity and diversity as well.
Correct. That's right. So we were saying that, okay, there's clearly a need for, you know, something that's natural, something that's safe, and something that's transparent, and of course, something that's inclusive. So how do we go about putting that into a brand and not just doing it for ourselves, but then creating a channel so that other brands could also tap in onto this large audience that we've built out? So, and it also boiled into the fact that the way I looked at it, so that was point one, right? Listen to your audience and see what do they need. And the second thing is that, you know, I'm a true blue media girl. I started my career in media. I've only been in media. I love the media world. And media is dying. You know, it's so hard for media to make money. Whether you're talking about print media, digital media, even for digital media, unless you're one of the big social networks, chances are you might be struggling a little bit. So how do you disrupt this industry? How do you also show that it's possible to monetize media? And it doesn't mean monetizing through just banner ads and, you know, sponsored content, but it also means having content, having research, having community, and then being able to sell back to the audience. So using the audience as a channel and being able to create either your own brand, like what we did. So we're a media company that's now started producing products, or becoming a platform to allow other brands to work with you, but to help to sell products.
So this is a broadening, isn't it? It's a stretching, and also presenting to the world and whoever your customers are an entire lifestyle choice.
That's right.
Because you have products as well, don't you?
Yeah.
How do you choose what products to work with? Again, I mean, obviously listening to your customers, but there must be a source of kind of an intuition feeling, because I feel that you've built your business on, like, I got a feeling that this is going to work.
So it's a mixture of both, you know. So it's really looking at a lot of data. When we launched out, for example, our stretch mark cream, we spoke to 1 million moms.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. How? How did you speak to 1 million moms?
So online, that's the beauty of online. So, you know, we put out surveys, we did qualitative research, quantitative research, we did focus groups. You know, I remember we first had a viewpoint of what the brand should be. And then after speaking to thousands and thousands of moms, we looked at it and we looked at, you know, the brand color, the brand positioning. We let the users decide it. And then at the end of it, I looked at one of my co-founders and I said, wow, I guess our brand's going to be Bandung Pink because that's the color that seems to do well. So,
well, Bandung Pink is a very happy color, so that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, I'm never ever going to look at a survey of 20,000 or 10,000 people and say, like, you
Sizable.
guys, you need to speak to the Asian parent because they know how to do 3 million. Or a million, did you say a million?
A million,
Or
yeah.
3 million. What's the difference?
Rounding errors.
Just round it off. Just round it off. I bet you could do 3 million too. So, Dione, in your experience with the e-commerce giant that is Love Bonito, right? You guys first had digital, you built digital, and then in 2017, physical retail stores. And I remember feeling super excited that I could finally touch the stuff before, I could buy it. I did find myself actually kind of going back to e-commerce. And the second part of my question really is, so many labels suffered with the closure of public spaces, let alone not having e-commerce platforms during the last 9 months. So I would like to ask, number one, how you guys made the decision to have the brick and mortar store, and then how you actually weathered the storms, because now you have these two things to kind of be worried about in the last 9 months.
True, now that you put it like this. So in 2010, actually, so very interesting. I mean, we first started our journey entirely online first, right? So very similar to Roshni's The Asian Parent, started actually on LiveJournal, right? Building a very strong content community platform. Then actually realizing that, hey, I think when we started sort of producing our own clothes, right, through Love Bonito, realizing that actually if you think about it, our e-commerce, although it's growing a lot exponentially year on year, huge percentage of the retail pie is actually still offline, right, brick and mortar. So I think back then in 2017, when we first decided to go offline, I think back then e-commerce penetration was actually probably around just sub 10%, right? So actually 90% of retail sales were actually still offline, right? So end of the day, I think how we operate, it's always consumer first, right? We go where consumers are, and very, very channel agnostic. So in 2017, it made sense, right? Consumers, and we pulled them, right, through same surveys, right, through our database of women as well. They were saying,
Come on,
hey,
3
right,
million?
we typically go to...
Did you pull a million? Dione?
Maybe thereabouts. Thereabouts
Because I
throughout the
know
region.
you have customers across the region.
Yes. Yeah, which is nice, right? So I think very similar actually, just asking them, hey, where do you usually shop, right? Which malls do you usually go to? And that was what spurred the first decision to go into 3-on-3 Somerset, because we found out that we have a good base of consumers actually there. That's when we started sort of gradually expanding sort of, offline, right? Having a more omni-channel presence. And today we have 15 stores actually across the region, right? So Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, and then we did a pop-up as well in Hong Kong. Yeah. But recently, I think to your second question, I think with COVID, right? I think it's been, of course, a challenge, right? I think that's where, of course, having the offline exposure is difficult, right? You have to manage, I think, first of all, actually the teams, right? I think very, very complex, right? How do you keep your entire retail team motivated during this period? So we had to, I think, use it. One thing was good. We managed to use the time to actually train the team. Then actually redeploy them to other teams, which was actually quite nice, because typically I think in a normal day, they don't actually get to interact too much with all of the office teams, right? They got to meet like the product teams, the tech teams, so that was actually pretty fun for the 3 months.
That's a total integration.
Yeah, so it was actually really good from a culture and like team bonding perspective. But I think, thank God, we have sort of a good omni-channel infrastructure, right? So a lot of what we did over the last, 4 to 5 months was just ensuring that, okay, everything from an inventory standpoint was optimized, right? Transferred from, offline to online, right? Are we transferring inventory also across regions, right? From regions that are more affected by COVID, right, to regions less affected, example, Singapore, right? So really just reallocating all of it across the region. So I think having a good technology infrastructure and stack actually helped. But I think beyond that also, of course, the operations, right, and the full process, which allowed us to pivot quite quickly, right, to just absorb the e-commerce surge.
The question that's running through my mind is, because, all of these require our human intervention. What is it that makes a company or an individual more able to make that change? What is the mindset? What is the mindset that you need to make change?
We say agility. So we actually added it to our team sort of like motto for 2020, actually, the one keyword, right? Can you be as agile as possible, right? And change is the constant, right? There is no sort of like baseline, right? There is no, hey, we've been doing this for 10 years, which is why we should be still doing this for 10 years, right? I think COVID has shown everyone that actually, new forms are actually the new normal, right? And it can actually work. I think in the past, we've always thought, okay, everyone needs to be in the same office space, but now, no, right? I think we're pretty productive remote. I love working from home. We try to do it very hybrid style as well with the team. So yeah, I think just being agile, and being able to just constantly innovate.
Val, The insurance industry, you know, as you said, it's a slower moving industry and it's slower to kind of change. How have you been doing this?
Previously, most of our insurance partners, they still prefer the like paper submission. So with the COVID situation and as well as the circuit breaker, within like 2 weeks, like Singapore regulator got like all the insurance companies to digitalize their like case submission. It means that every insurance policy case submission is all done fully digital. On top of that, like previously the government shield plan, there's this like mandatory, like you have to meet up with the client to explain to them about like their health insurance, how can they get themselves like covered for, as well as the whole process of the claim. Everything moved online within 2 weeks. So like in terms of insurance, I think previously the industry has been stable in terms of like the past few decades of like how the agents have dominated the market. Today we work together with them and empower them to actually either meet with their clients online, and of course most importantly is that for consumers themselves, they actually want to find out more. Previously they dodge, or they think that no one kind of wake up thinking of, oh, today I'm going to shop for life insurance policy. No one do that really. And it's not a dinner.
No one.
It's
Sorry.
not a dinner topic as well. Like people will be talking about love bonito in the great room, chatting about how to be a better parent. But no one will be like,
Oh, you did?
okay, I'm so excited. But like because of how things have changed.
I am now because of you. I am.
Dione said she did. She said she turned 30, woke up and said, I want to buy a life insurance.
But it's actually how you're selling it as well, you know, because I think there's two ways, right? You either disrupt the industry or you disrupt your way of thinking.
Yes.
And I think that's what all of this is about. When we use words like disruption, we use words like agility, I think we need to really cement it that we're not disrupting something that's out there, we're actually disrupting something that's in here.
Exactly.
You know? And I think that's where innovation really comes. And I think all great disruption, all great innovation comes at the expense of peace of mind a little bit, because you literally have to kind of think really hard about not just yourself, but community and people as well.
Exactly. So for insurance, because you are buying something that like ultimately you might not be the one receiving the benefits. So no one will be thinking about it in advance until like they seen like a loved one falling sick and realize that the cost of like hospitalization treatment is so high, and they will start looking at it. But because of this pandemic, a lot of people start planning about, okay, what happens if, let's say, there would be another lockdown? What happens if I would be retrenched? So they actually want to find out more. So at PolicyPal, we have content curated with the communities exchanging in terms of like what they have, what's missing, and what's the best like product in the market. On top of that, we work with insurance companies to co-create new type of products as well. So previously, you have to meet with like financial advisor to do everything end to end. As we shared that actually we're on a hybrid model. So I guess it's very similar to like say Love Bonito first started like fully digital. They went to have a store. For us, we started fully digital with an app to actually help you understand your coverage. Later on, we found out that actually people want to meet with the financial advisor face to face or like over the Zoom to have the personalized advice. So we allow them. It basically is moving the power back to the consumers, because they can now choose whether I want to meet with the agent. Previously, for them to find out, they have to speak with an agent. Now they can have the option like, okay, I want to know more, then okay, I meet with a financial advisor, and I'm a bit more empowered to know like what kind of needs that I'm looking up for.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like I'm in a position where I can make this decision myself. I have a quick question. Is there a pandemic policy?
Indeed, but then right now, a lot of insurance companies are also pretty concerned in terms of the risk management on like what's happening. So
because we don't really know when this sort of ends, and what are the parameters here.
So there are people who are still traveling. So we used to sell a lot of travel insurance, but of course, mostly now move to life and also health insurance. And then for travel insurance, when people are traveling, the insurers actually offer it, but at a premium. So there will be some exclusions that are included because of the potential high risk that is happening if you travel out of the country. So as long as there's a risk, you can cover it for something. That's insurance.
Yeah.
It's more than just a life insurance, health insurance, and so on. So in the future, what we're seeing is that with the data collected, we are moving towards product manufacturing. That means coming out of our own type of insurance products based on the data we have aggregated, the needs of the consumers.
Well, this is like the Asian parent coming out. It's true, because you're listening to what people want versus giving them something that they were like, okay, is this all the choices I have, A, B, C, D? Now we have all the way to Z. It's brilliant. Wow, I love it when it's all synergistic like this. Great conversation. Because, there's overdependence on technology as well, right? I think there are a lot of concerns. A lot of people are a little bit worried on that. And I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that technology feels, and with AI and all of these things, that it's replacing human connection, or it is reducing that aspect of our humanity and kind of distorting our realities. And I don't think that we can say that that side of things doesn't happen. So what are your views then on how technology is affecting interpersonal relationships? Roshni?
I'm of the other viewpoint. I really think that technology has brought us so much closer. My daughter Zooms with her godparents. She Zooms with her grandparents around the world. She does 1 hour Mandarin classes every day with her Nai Nai in Hong Kong, and which would not have been possible without technology. And of course, she's just enamored with the Samsung phone. So, I've become the coolest mom in the world because she says, "Mommy, the phone can piak."
Yes. It's true, because that's the first thing about it that is just kind of cool, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And I can put it down, and I can do, we can do live streaming and everything. It's so convenient because I don't have to use my hands.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for a child as well, right? Because I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry that she's gonna drop it and she's gonna like throw it around or anything. I just leave it there, and I say, okay, you sit here, and now you can Zoom with Nai Nai. So I really think that at the end of the day, technology, it's the way you use it. We use technology a lot in our household. We can't live without it. And, I find myself, doing Zoom calls everywhere I go. I'm always on 24 hours a day. I'll do a Zoom call. Last night I was doing a Zoom call until 2 o'clock in the morning with some friends living in Denmark. So, so I really think that technology has brought us closer together. And I think it's a reality we cannot run away from.
Absolutely.
So the fact is it's going to permeate our life. And how do we now use it so that we can expand our knowledge base? We can learn. We can, get access to things that we would never have had access to before. I sat during the COVID pandemic. I did the Yale course on happiness online.
That was the most popular course, actually.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, with Khan Academy and Coursera, and, you're able to go and, view some of the best plays online and watch Broadway and the West Side Theater. And
I think from a exposure and an education standpoint, now it's like what you were saying, I the power is in my hands. But at the end of the day, also, people were also offering things in a more generous way. And that's what I liked about it. I like the fact that now you didn't have to get on a plane and have to afford X, Y, Z. This felt very democratic, that anybody could have it. And I'm big on that, because I don't understand how it's only for some and not for others. So I think that's something that I really liked out of all of this, that it did bring us together, but it also gave more people opportunities to see things and experience things that they hadn't before. Dione, what's your take on technology? Do you feel, personally, that it brings people closer together? Does it have the ability to tear us apart?
Yeah, I think generally it enhances, right? I think the experiences, depending how you're using it, right? I think if you're leveraging technology to enhance your day-to-day, really, really useful. Technology, I guess, when it comes maybe to social media, right? I think that's where it could be a little dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Where I think moving forward, I think you're seeing brands and consumers also just demanding a lot more authenticity, right? Ensuring that, again, right, I think things like diversity, inclusivity, we're also really thinking about it. And it's not a stereotypical representation, right, that you're seeing also on digital platforms. I think that's a bit that we probably just need to be cautious about.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm hearing, you know, as we've been talking about the role of technology in our lives. I think that we're all very well aware of the fact that there is a function, there's a form, and then there's also making sure that we're not actually circumventing what it is to be human.
Yeah.
And you know, when I'm holding this phone and when I'm talking to you or listening to the experiences that each of you have had and building the businesses that you're in, I'm seeing that same thing run through it. And I think we cannot run away from it. And what we've actually really learned to come face to face with is that you cannot do things in a two-dimensional way. We are actually multidimensional. And so the products and the services that we offer, and as well as the lives that we build, need to also have those nuances. We can't remove the nuances, because then it just becomes, okay, it's just artificial intelligence. But what intelligence is there if the person who doesn't actually program the artificial intelligence doesn't have the emotional intelligence themselves? You know, so yeah.
Well said.